Welcome to Driving the Lane with Randy Kraayenbrink and Chuck Rowe, a podcast presented by News Talk 1540 KXEL. Now, Driving the Lane.
Welcome to Driving the Lane. Randy Kraayenbrink, Chuck Rowe, the show where we talk mostly about one thing and one thing only, and that is
Panther basketball.
Now, it's important that we remind you that although we are the official UNI basketball show for News Talk 1540 KXEL, our comments may not reflect the feelings of our friends at UNI. However, Randy is a former player, and I got a new UNI t-shirt last week, so this show is as official as it's going to get. I have
a lot of new clothing every week, Coach.
Yeah, you know what? At the bookstore store that they have on the concourse, I guess you would call. My wife saw some shirts and bought them for us, and I don't know, super excited. I think that last game, she was super excited because it was just a great end of the season, right? So
wow, right? You couldn't have finished the season off any better in the McLeod Center right there.
I probably have more UNI clothing right now than Coach Jake himself.
I'll bet you do. We'll ask you when we see it.
So anyways, we also want to let you know that portions of the show can be heard on KXEL, but the entire show can be found on their website. And as always, we have a great show for everyone. We're going to have a little bit of a prepping for Arch Madness show today with former members of the UNI coaching staff, Jay Koch and John Little, joining us. And then we're going to finish off with the Financial Architect's quote of the week. Randy joining us today, drum roll please. Former UNI players and coaching staff members, Jay Koch and John Little. Thanks for joining today, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So you both had great careers at UNI. What was probably your all-time best highlight or memory during your time here? Maybe starting out with Jake.
Oh man, all time. Anytime we could get the McLeod Center filled, just that environment, being able to play in front of that many fans and hear it get so incredibly loud, stands out. Obviously, the easy answer is the NCAA tournament run we had where we made it to the Sweet 16. Every March, NCAA tournament rolls around. You can't help but go back to that day, those feelings, those emotions, and just cherish the time spent together with those coaches and players.
And John?
Yeah, I'm a little older than Jake, so mine goes back to probably those like Iowa games, like filling those dome and getting a couple good wins against Iowa at home. That really felt good. Kind of felt like we're turning the tide with UNI and starting to do some special things and allowing us to go and get guys like Jake Koch and Adam to be part of the Panthers. So that's probably one of the highlights of my career and just seeing everything take off from there.
So Jay Lit, as most people call you, you and Randy got to play in the Dome. Do you ever give a hard time to newer players, like let's say Jay Koch, for being pampered, for having this nice new McLeod Center or nice locker room, things like that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I told Jake that all the time, and there's like, you guys got this nice little facility. We had to run 1 mile to get to our locker room from the Dome just to get in there for the halftime speech. So yeah, they got it good, but I'm happy that I got to come back and be part of his video coordinator and be part of the McLeod Center. So I still got that little highlight to live on.
That's true, Chuck. Thanks for reminding us. And Jay Litt is correct. That mile run to the locker room and then the mile run back. Coach only had a couple minutes to talk to us at halftime because we were all we were just trying to get back and forth to the court and the locker room.
Sometimes that was a good thing too, right?
That is very true. I didn't think about it that way.
Well, Randy, you might remember this when we had Ali on, last month or so. He was saying that the way the locker rooms were set up during halftime or after the game, there would be guys working out somewhere else that weren't even part of the team that you had to change with and like shower around that weren't even part of the team.
Totally true. I don't even think we didn't have a video room to be. Now that I think about it, we didn't even watch any video. Maybe a little bit on the bus ride here and there, but that was it.
Yeah, that's different. You didn't have video, but. Yeah, so
we had reel to reel.
So, but both of you guys are still coaching. Maybe you could tell us these days what you're up to.
Okay, sounds good, John. Now my wife and I and the kids are down in Nebraska, Omaha. I'm an assistant coach here. after that year stint where I was assistant video coordinator at J-Lit, got the director of basketball operations job down at Omaha and spent 2 years doing that. And now just finishing up the second year as assistant coach here. Omaha, great spot, lots of great people, easy to work here, very easy to work here.
So did you ever call up Derek Nennen at all and say to him, you know what, being an operations guy and helping to set up these games, this is a lot harder than I thought it would be?
After year one, I was talking to Nets and I was like, yeah, I have a newfound respect for the ops life. Just, coming from video, you have that certain aspect of your job and that's all you do. That's what and it's a lot, but that's what you take care of. That's what you do all day, every day. And then going to the operations side, you get a little bit more of the administration feel. And then obviously the travel, the coordination for the guys. There's a lot that goes into it just day to day. What changes, whether there's a fire here you have to put out or track down a kid or, whatever you need to do, I've done it. And Nets had to do it for so long at UNI. So there's definitely that respect that you don't really know what you're getting into. But you got to be able to adapt on the fly and figure things out quickly.
You bet. What about you, John?
So I spent one more year after Jake left at Northern Iowa's video coordinator, and then I got an opportunity to come and I'm with the Milwaukee Bucks, their G League team, the Wisconsin Herd. So I'm in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. This will be my second full season as an assistant. Been here 3 years with the team. Last year I just did all draft stuff for the guys. While we had a little bubble season, did all the draft workouts and stuff during them with them in the playoffs. But yeah, it's been here for 2 years as an assistant, really enjoying this side, the professional side of coaching. And yeah, really just blessed to be part of it as assistant coach and still part of the game.
Well, I think there's been other UNI players that have played in G League. And I think I heard like Joe got an assistant coaching job somewhere. Have you ever come across any other UNI players or coaches during your time in the G League?
Yeah, actually. So Joe's he's with the Windy City Bulls, so he's in Chicago this year. We played them like 4 times. I'm learning to hate Joe every time I see him. They got a couple Iowa guys on the team, Tyler Cook and some dudes that make it. We always have a little rivalry with their team. So I see Joe all the time. Paul Jesperson, he's with the Atlanta Hawks. He's a assistant coach, player development coach for them. So I get to run into him when we come down there. We'll play the G League team and he'll usually come out and say what's up. So get to connect with him. Clint Carlson's in Charlotte. He's assistant video coordinator with them and doing a great job. So there's a lot of guys around. Nick Nurse, obviously, run into him every once in a while. We were up in Toronto. So yeah, it's growing the UNI Panther family in the league. So it's just pretty cool to see. Oh, and I gotta give a shout out to Zay. He's a player with Texas Legends, so with the Dallas Mavericks G League team.
What is it dealing with that when guys get called up? What you guys got like what size is your roster? Do you carry guys and then ready to sign 10 days or what is it?
Because of COVID, so a lot of things happened during COVID and it really got crazy for us. We lost like 4 or 5 guys to like NBA call-ups. We just lost another guy. He signed for the rest of the season with the Lakers. Probably our best player. So yeah, it's difficult right now. There's a player pool of a bunch of players. And we kind of they're in there. So if something happens, we can pull them out of the player pool. And it kind of goes by, if you lose a player, you move to the top of the waiver list.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's kind of how it moves. And I think with the influx of players coming over because a lot of players coming back from Europe, that's from Russia and stuff like that. So some Americans that will be available that we'll be able to pull from. If it's a weird situation. It was a crazy year. We've had 39 different players. So it feels like we're always in training camp. We're always reteaching and relearning everything. But it's a heck of a year. There's a quote that everyone always talks about. Nick Nurse always mentions this. He's like, if you coach in the G League, it prepares you for anything. Because you never know what a roster it's literal. I'll have a scout ready. I'll come to the game and I'll see 3 dudes on the other team that I've never seen before. And I'm instantly running to Synergy and I'm pulling personnel clips to show the guys to put into the film. You do your on-court, work them out, and you get out there and any and everything. Schemes can change by the minute. So it's a ton of fun. You get to learn a lot of different players, but yeah, it's been a heck of a year with COVID and then all the 10 days that happened this year. So yeah,
That's awesome to have the Panther blood out there, and then a lot of people making big steps in the professional ball as well. Tell us quickly about your family, kids, ages, that type of thing.
Wife Samantha, obviously you guys know her. Daughter Colette just turned 4 in February. Got a little boy now, Garrison, turned 2 in December. Colette is very high energy, go. And Garrison's a lot like me. He wants to lay on the couch, play with toys, and not do anything and just eat. So we got both ends of the spectrum there. But everyone's happy, healthy, living the dream.
Good.
Yep, I got my wife, Jessica. I don't know if you guys met Chuck, I know you met my wife. I'm not sure if you met my wife, Jessica, Randy. But yeah, Jessica, she's actually originally from Wisconsin, which makes it nice to have her back close to some support here. We have a 9-year-old, Kingston. He's a gamer.
Kingston's 9?
Kingston's 9 in 3rd grade.
God.
He's a big dude. Yeah, it's crazy. No babies in our house anymore. And then I got my daughter, Jules. She is 3 years old. She is something else. She's the kind of the loud one in the family. So we got both of them. He's a little quiet, but he's energetic. And then she's kind of like in your face, dancing. See her at the game, playing with she's just the wild one in the family. But yeah, everyone's healthy, happy. Wife's great. I have no complaints.
Back to video coordinator at UNI specifically. So tell us a little bit about what you did as a video coordinator. And then did you play any pranks on your coach, like in the video somewhere? Did you throw something in there that maybe had nothing to do with basketball that y'all did?
Not me. I wasn't savvy enough at the time. Jake was a little bit more savvy. If someone was going to do a prank or something in there, that would have had to have been him. I was just, that room was dark, lights off, and it was cutting film all day. I'll tell you one thing though, that I do like about moving on to the NBA, man, your sports code and huddle is amazing in the NBA. You get a full game cut, shots, minutes, everything all the way down. So it's just breaking down film. We don't have to do when me and Jake had to do that 8 games out and cut every single game for every single team and put a calendar together. So it's been a blessing this side. See how they do it on this side too. So they need to bring that to college is what they need to do.
Yeah, we'd be happy to have it. It makes it a little bit smoother.
Yeah.
Just the day-to-day operations, it's a lot of film. Like Jay Litt said, the way the coaches scouted when we were there, each coach took 2 or 3 teams in the league or looking at the schedule that would come up. So how PJ likes a game cut and what he's looking for versus Kyle Green versus Eric Crawford. And you can there's not a lot of changes you can make to cutting the game or include it. There's a lot of mornings me and Jay Litt would be in there at 5:30 because there was a couple games the night before, and we just grab our coffees and sit down and get to cutting. And I think we got pretty good at it. It takes us maybe 15 to 20 minutes to cut a full game. But as far as pranks, not a lot. Very small stuff like PJ gets in at whenever he gets in, usually 5:30 or 6, and he's like, "Do you have that game done?" You tell him no, but of course it's done because you have to have it ready. But no team film, nothing like that. You want the biggest stressor is when everyone walks into the film room, that thing better be ready to go and it better play smooth. Just as long as everything goes smooth, it's okay. It's a good day. Then you don't care how practice goes because at least the video worked.
So over your time, either of you, did any of the UNI coaches ever get on you and say, how the flip are we supposed to learn anything from what you just put together? Have you ever got reamed out before?
Oh yeah.
Who is the culprit?
Man, I wouldn't say it's anything from us cutting film wise, but I'll tell you the thing is when technology has a way of after you check it a million times, you play that video, you start it, you stop it, you slow-mo it, you do this. And the second you hand it to Coach Jake, that remote, and something messes up, the whole thing turns off. It's oh my God. It's just what can go wrong? Sometimes, that's what just gets you hot and you're just over in that corner sweating, just trying to get it back on there as fast as you can.
Yep. Yep,
So-
exactly.
So what was that conversation like when you told Coach Jake that you were going to leave the staff, and how did he help prep you to that next level of coaching?
Yeah. For me, it was Coach Jake. He almost told me, if college coaching is something that you want to get into, get involved in, having played there, been a graduate assistant there, done the video stuff there, his bottom line was you need to leave and see if you still truly love it, because there's that comfort zone, there's that comfort level at UNI. And his big thing was you need to get out and experience it at a different level, different environment, and go at it, give it your best shot. And if you don't like it, that's okay. But I guess the biggest thing was him telling me that you have to get out and get different experience, and then being able to grow as a person, grow as a coach, and start building your own little network. That was probably the biggest thing that I've learned going from UNI to Nebraska, Omaha.
Yeah, I'd say mine's kind of similar. I was lucky. I had a friend that was an assistant coach with the Bucks at the time, and they were going through some changes. He had just came with the staff from Atlanta that came to Milwaukee, and they had mentioned that there was going to be a brand new G League team, and they're going to fill a whole new staff. And I kind of brought that to Coach Jake around the time our season had just ended. He had reached out to me, and he was really pushing it. I kind of knew I wanted to maybe get back in. I wasn't sure if it was college level or was professional level or where exactly I wanted to be. But when this opportunity came, he was he was like the number one guy in my corner. He was pushing me to get down there. Really gave me a lot of advice going in there to interview and be around those guys, which was great. And really just pushed me. It's like if you have an opportunity to go and it's an assistant coaching job and it's that type of role right away, you got to jump on it. So I'm really thankful for him. And like I tell people this all the time, like when I went to go play professionally, I had a great foundation. I learned a lot of UNI. And then when I went into coaching, I came back to UNI and I got another great foundation, like leading me into like all my daily stuff I do here with the herd and then even with the Bucks. And it just, I'm really blessed to have him, be around great guys. Jake Koch, I learned a ton from him. Croft, just all the way down the line.
Well, to your point of the great coaching staff they have there, thanks to your playing careers and your coaching careers, UNI is almost expected by fans, not necessarily the everyone around the league, but the fans, they expect nothing less than a first place finish every time, right? And so fans could go a little bonkers at times if you're not finishing in first place, and I think you guys know that firsthand. But maybe you could tell us how much work and what type of work goes on behind the scenes with the coaching staff that maybe outsiders take for granted.
Yeah, I don't think from the outside perspective, especially going from, and Jayla, you can probably attest to this, going from player, you have your professional career, however long that lasts, and then you come back into the coaching world. You don't realize the consistency in the day-to-day operations. Everything they do, there's a purpose behind it. Whether it's watching one game or one practice or one individual workout, there's always a plan. There's always structure that's put into it. And my first month as a GA, it was just trying to catch up to what the plan was and why we do things the way we do. And that consistency and structure from the coaching staff carries over to the team, the practices, the day-to-day. You do this, you do this, you do this, and eventually you can get to achieve your goal or what you set out to do. And that's why I think UNI has been so successful over the span of however long Coach Jake has been there. Is there's the expectation, and you trust the plan and you work the plan, and in the end you'll like the results.
Exactly. I think Jake hit it on that. He hit it right there. I think it's the thing you don't like going from the playing side to the coaching side. I tell those guys all the time, is like, man, like the details, like the thought behind every single thing they do, from the guys they recruit to the drills you do in practice. Like as a player, sometimes you don't think about these things, but everything has a purpose. It could be that Villanova drill, but it's like there's a direct carryover with every single thing that you do that as a player, sometimes you maybe didn't realize until you're gone and off from it. But it really is these little things that win and lose games. And I think the detail oriented that they've been, and Coach Jake's been, and the staff, all the way down the line, from scheduling to the way we travel to the way the food that the guys eat to the lifts, like everything has a purpose. And if you're on board and getting these guys on board and on that same plan, it can lead to success. Like there may be sometimes you win or lose some, but like over the run, you're gonna see in the consistency that's happened at UNI for I don't even know how many years now. So it's really good to see them win the regular season again. It just goes to show you that if you just stick with these detail oriented, you be disciplined, like outcomes are gonna be there for you.
Well, kind of a out with the old, in with the new type of mentality. You have, Mark Sonnen, Seth Tuttle, that have kind of moved up the ranks ever since you guys left. A lot of people assume like, well, Sonnen must help out with some 3-point shooting since he was a great 3-point shooter, and Tuttle must be, helping out with helping with some low post moves. So besides those obvious things, you guys know those two guys better than anyone. What else do those guys bring to the table besides the obvious answers?
Go ahead, John. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sonnen, and I think the first thing is that they're just a young voice for those guys too. Like they're not so far removed from playing, and they're also I think they're a relatable voice. Not saying Croft and all those guys are all their relatable voices, but it's just a newer, fresher, like relatable voice to those guys on the team to help push the exact same message. And sometimes when you get it from those guys, like when I played, like Jake, being able just to grab a guy and tell him something, he had just played professionally. He was just on UNI. They recognize what he did as a player. Like that helps, that goes a long way, just as like the mentorship for these guys and how they start to move forward. Like having Mark Sonnen over there in your corner, a guy that just finished playing, and Seth Tuttle, the same thing, a guy that's a great offensive mind and knows what he's talking about and seen it from a lot of different angles and coaching and been through it. Like that helps, and then they're pushing that same message that's coming from Coach, because now they see like, okay, this is why we do things. Now help me, how can I get that across to our players as well?
Yeah, great point, John. Like Jaylet said, the Mark and Seth being a little bit younger, they're able to bridge the gap between the guys and the coaches and be a voice of reason that maybe relates to those younger guys coming in. And then also, I think what's huge for those guys is, one, their basketball IQ. Two of the smartest players that have ever played at UNI are back and on staff. Mark Sonnen and Seth Tuttle, incredible basketball IQ, X's and O's. They understand the game. But being at UNI, playing there, and then they both went and had their professional careers, they have a base of what UNI does and how they did things for 4 or 5 years. Then they go play professionally and see another way of how to play the X's and O's, and then they come back and they try to bring those fresh new ideas and how to incorporate it into the base structure of what UNI does consistently year to year, and able to mesh those together, come up with some new wrinkles, a new scheme, or just to tweak things here or there. Always keeping it fresh. And then obviously those guys have the background and they can understand how to implement things and how everything can work together.
We came from Coach McDermott, who was here a long time, and now we're with Ben Jacobson, who kind of followed Coach McDermott, right? He was with him, so kind of that same strategy, same philosophy, that the same defensive schemes, offensive schemes. So with that being said, they recruit players that kind of fit their scheme, but this year, especially going to what the Panthers have done, and I'm not sure how closely y'all have followed it a little bit, but we went through a tough patch in there where I think probably Coach Jake had to restructure or rethink what he was doing, because obviously Big Fife in the middle, he can go 3 minutes and he's done. So making those adjustments. So how does a coach get that through to his players? And obviously different people have to play different roles. So I guess I'd talk about that a little bit, about restructuring, changing midstream. And then also maybe let's go in a little bit maybe about, because you guys are dealing with the professional level and the college level, about maybe that mental aspect of the game now, or the social media aspect of the game for all of these kids.
Yeah, social media. It can be great, and it can be it can get in the way a little bit
Right.
of things. I think it's great, social media, being able to expand your knowledge on a subject, really dive in deep on something that interests you that maybe you would have had no clue, wouldn't be able to do any research on it. I think that's great, but be careful of where you're getting your information from, and be careful of sitting on your phone too long, sitting in front of that screen. That's our biggest message to those guys. It's great. After a win, you're going to see all kinds of stuff, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great for you. It's great for us. It's great for the university. But don't get too high. Don't get too low.
Yeah.
You know, it's great in the moment, and then after a couple losses, you're not going to see as much. So remember who's there in your corner with success, and remember who's not there. That's my little spiel on social media.
Yep.
But as far as tweaking and changes to player personnel, scheme in season, whatever you do, you got to be both feet in. Whatever you decide as a coaching staff, if everyone's both feet in and everyone's on board, then work at it the right way, and guys will buy in. As soon as they see that little bit of success, it'll click, and then you can start building on it. And it takes time. It does take time. So as long as you are getting small benefits from it at first, you can see the success start to happen. Then eventually it starts to snowball and everyone gets in a roll. Now, when those injuries or personnel changes happen in the middle of the year, that can be a little bit harder to adjust to. But Coach Jake's biggest thing, and that coaching staff's biggest thing, was as soon as March rolls around, get hot going into the tournament. Get hot, stay hot. And as long as you have some positive momentum going into Arch Madness and in the month of March, good things tend to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Hit it. I mean, social media is different, especially where I'm at right now. I got a little bit older guys. I do got some young guys that are, trying to make their way. And social media, definitely, I see how it can kind of, because each guy has their own brand in a sense. And teams are trying to give out these $1 million contracts to them, and they want to know everything about them. So we talk about that stuff with them, just make sure they're putting out the right positive message as well. It goes all the way down the line, especially these college guys. Like, these guys are aware of everything. So, I mean, being smart with that, making sure your circle is your circle, and you got guys around you that are not gonna pump you up too much and not gonna knock you down too low either. You got to have a good mix of both. Coaches are always in your corner. I think they have I'm sure at Omaha and at Northern Iowa, I know for a fact they got a good group of guys. They're going to tell you how it is. They're going to be truthful with you. They have your best interest. So I don't think that's a huge problem for you and I in that sense. But as far as like schemes and all that stuff and changing during the season, it's like you said, you got to be both feet in, but you got to realize there are going to be some bumps and growing pains as you start something new. It's just how it is across the line, across all levels. But as guys start to get, as like with Fife, for example, getting into their flow offense that they run, that they get into this flow offense where they're going continuous pick and roll, and it turned out to be something really good for him. It's just recognizing. It takes a lot of bravery for a coach to kind of cut off everything he's been doing and then move into something totally different. But I think that's one of the best things about Coach Jake and a lot of coaches around the league that I admire is, hey, we need to move into like a more flowing system because it fits the personnel better. It's maybe not what I'm used to, but it fits our personnel, and we can play off of it a little bit smarter and better. And UNI's kind of taking it and they're running with it. I've seen Loyola's running the same type of offense. Teams around the league, you turn on Memphis, they're doing the same types of things, and adds different wrinkles, and it's fun to play. I think it's also, if me and Jake probably go back, we love to play in that offense. It's a free flowing, you're making reads. It's not always robotic, so it's a fun way to play. It just takes a little bit of time to get those guys to learn and how to make reads and pick and rolls and move the ball. And they do that, you can do this. But yeah, it could be a lot of fun. You just got to get the right group of guys, and I've done a great job of getting those type of guys that are high IQ, smart guys.
Yep.
Well, one thing I thought was interesting that what Jake just said is that he talked about the whole, make sure your highs don't get too high and your lows don't get too low. And that's like a Coach Jake principle that I feel like maybe he caught on to or something, because I know Jake preaches that to everybody. So my question for you is, now that Arch Madness is coming up, Are practices, does he tend to keep practices the same as normal, or are they more intense when you get into Arch Madness?
Go ahead, Jay Litt.
Oh man, well, when I was there, no, they stayed the same. Sometimes they were worse. I don't. In my opinion, as we went on, it looked like they got a little lighter.
And actually,
it got a little, in my opinion, but I might just be an old guy thinking, hey, we used to have to walk on glass, and everything was hard. But from my opinion, what I saw, it looked like, hey, there's a little bit lighter on them, which is probably the smart thing. Easier on the bodies. The season's long and it's grueling, so you got to be smart around this time. But you got to practice just the right amount that guys are staying in the rhythm and the flow of things.
And before Jake gives an answer, let me just pile something else on top of that real quick. Is once you get to St. Louis, is the team mostly just running through plays and getting through things, or are they taking it really hard in practice as they prepare for their first game?
I would say it's more mental when you get down there. It's going to be, you're in a script a little bit. It's script through your offense. You're going to do certain things. It's going to be more game to game. Like, so those games come at you quick. So you want guys to be fresh. You want them to be mentally locked in. I think it's more, I say it's more of a mental practice. Like, what are we doing in this game? How are we guarding this? How are we guarding this team? What are we doing against that team? It's more of that than actual just physically beating, because we know those games come at you quick and you got to be ready to play those, or whatever it is, 3 in however many days.
Yeah. It's great point, Jay Litt, about the mental aspect. It's a lot of mental, being locked in. Probably a lot more film work now at the end of the year. I haven't been back to UNI for 4-5 years, whatever it is. But a lot of film work as far as us here at Nebraska, Omaha, a lot more film. And then what's your goal that day? You start a year in the preseason, you're having longer practices because your goal, you have to accomplish a little bit more every day. And it takes a little bit more time to accomplish those goals, whether it's defend these 5 actions correctly. And you can do that, depending on the guys and depending how, if everyone's on the same page, you can get that done. But what are the goals now at the postseason? You're just trying to get in, get your work done, and then rest the legs. But before you can do that, everyone has to be on the same page about, this is what we're doing today. And it's those early season practices where it sets the tone that, this is your expectation every day at practice, and the expectation won't change. So you can be sure that when those guys step on the court, they know what's going to happen. And if they don't do it right, or in a certain amount of reps or whatever it is, then they'll do it again and do it till it's right. So it's kind of up to the guys as far as length of practice, because it's going to be intense no matter what. So you're going to be intense for 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half. It's kind of on the guys. If they're locked in and ready to go, get in, get your stuff done, and then get ready to head down to St. Louis.
The other thing that we have to realize is, by now, they know when AJ Green gets up in the morning. They know when AJ Green goes to the bathroom. I mean, so, the teams that we're playing, they've seen enough film on all of us, and we've seen enough film on them. So do you try to add anything new? Do you try to add a new offense? Do you save a wrinkle here or there that they haven't seen yet? But I mean, is there anything else that you try to add, or do you just keep it simple at that point?
Yeah, that's a good point. Knowing that staff and how they operate a little bit, I don't think there's anything that would be held back, especially with the conference championship on the line. They're going out to win that game, and they will do whatever they have to. I don't think there's a set being held back. For the championship game under 4 minutes, that first media timeout, this is exactly what we're running. Coach Jake and that staff has always said in conference, especially the third time you play a team, what they're going to do. They know what you're going to do. Who does it better? And that's pretty much it, especially in the conference tournament. Who has the will to do it better on the offensive end, the defensive end, and whoever has more willpower is going to come out on top. But that being said, I'm sure with the offense that UNI is running, that there's certain wrinkles that they can look at. Hey, we've talked about this in the past. They defend this action this way, so remember, if they do this, we do this. Certain reads, something like that. But I don't think a total scheme or anything like that. And I don't think any change like that would be happening.
So here's a two-part question for you for anybody to answer, and that is, when you go into Arch Madness and you go in as a number 1 seed, I know sometimes you've gone in with the number 1 seed and sometimes you haven't. Is it harder to play with that target on your back, or is it easier to go in with that number 1 seed, for one? And two, I know Coach Jake will always say, no, we just need to take it one game at a time. And even though you need to win Arch Madness in order to get to the NCAAs, how hard is that for a player to really focus on making sure you just take it one game at a time?
I mean, I can just speak from my opinion. I think that number 1 seed, especially with the Valley, like I feel like anything can happen in the Valley, and I think teams are so well prepared that you if you come in thinking like I'm the number 1 seed, like you're going to get beat. Like teams are just too well prepared in the Valley. Coaches do such a great job. So it comes down to you really need to be locked in. It's one game only. We're not thinking anything past, like, and then we move forward. So it's a one step at a time thing. As far as a player, I think it's a ton of excitement. It's how you control that excitement too, because that excitement can be a little bit bad. You come out and you try to do a little too much, but you want to do the things that have got you to that point. And that's what's going to carry you forward. I think, like you said, there's going to be wrinkles that they're going to run, that they're going to have, that they're going to be able to use. But I think your regular season champs, you need to come out and do the same things and show why you're regular season champs, kind of enforce the way that you play on the other teams, and then adjust from there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think John said it perfectly. Do what got you there. Do what got you there. I'm sure some message along those lines will be preached all week leading up to the tournament. At the end of the day, the number 1 seed conference championship is great. I mean, that the season they've had is phenomenal, and it's been fun to watch, fun to follow. But the biggest goal, I'm sure the guys are saying, is now getting to the NCAA tournament, winning Arch Madness. That's what they want to do. They took care of step 1. Now it's step 2, and 40 minutes at a time, game at a time. Do your job and get it done with.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You know what? These guys could be the future head coaches of the UNI Panthers. If I was in a locker room right now and I just heard Jake say that, I would be ready to score 40 points that night.
They're gonna come back to this podcast as kind of an interview for these guys if they if the job opens up. So
Probably. Yep. Well, let's finish off with this, and that is, do you guys have any final words for Panther fans out there today?
I just say good luck down there in Arch Madness. I'm excited to see what's going to transpire. I'll be tuned in. Excited for the Panther family. Go down there, get it done.
Better see a lot of purple and gold down there.
Amen. That's awesome. Hey, always great to talk to ex-Panther players, especially 2 guys that are out now making waves in the college and the professional world. So congratulations to you guys. Thanks for joining us, and good luck to you, and go Panthers.
This brings us to the part of the week that everyone's been waiting for, the Financial Architect's quote of the week.
Dream as if you'll live forever. Live as if you'll die tomorrow.
As always, makes me think deep.
You betcha.
Yeah. It's interesting that when it comes to spending money for experiences or spending time with your family or doing things with your friends, you always put things off till tomorrow. Like, I'll get to it.
Right.
And then, but you need to just do it.
Just do it.
Just
do it.
That's right.
Get it done.
Great quote as always. Good for you. Good for me. Good for everybody. Now it's time to say goodbye from Chuck and Randy. Enter the closing music.